Hey guys, I've been meaning to do this vlog for quite a while, and I did like bits and pieces of it, but it kept getting interrupted for some reason. But anyway, I'll just start from the beginning, okay? A lot of people ask me how I was able, as a magician, to get on MTV for the first time. Okay, that's something that a lot of people have asked me over the years, and I thought I'd take a minute and explain it, okay? First of all, nobody at MTV had any idea that I was planning on getting on. Okay, I was an intern at the time, and to like try and get on the channel was a big no-no. So I had to make them think that it was their idea to put me on, because after all, I was a magician, and at the time they showed nothing but music videos. It was like very little original programming on there like there is today. It was almost 24 hours a day of solid music videos. There's something you have to know is that it's important to realize that MTV wasn't live at the time. What we would do is we would just shoot the video jock, the VJ's wraparound segments. So say like a Madonna video came on. Well, they already programmed that just like a radio station, so they knew at what time that would play, and all we would do would have the VJ like back announce it or announce it, like, okay guys, coming up next is Madonna's new one, and then they would say like, you just saw whatever. So we just shot the segments with the VJs. The videos were provided by record companies, so that's important to know. Okay, now what my job was, and I'm not sure if I repeat this later in the video, I'm sorry, like I said, I'm editing this like way out of order. But what my job was at the time was I'd sit in the control room, with the directors and the producers and stuff, and I would just log the time that the VJ, his segment, like how long it lasted. So you would say, from 1 minute on the tape to 1 minute 20, he did segment 1, just like that. And then they would send those logs to the place where they would upload the videos. Everything was shot actually on thick-ass 1-inch videotape back then. The internet wasn't even around yet. Okay, that's how long ago this was. And like I said, I was an intern in college when this happened. I would log those, and then we would have a director calling something between each cameras, just like a regular control room or a regular television studio. This was in New York, and I was commuting every day from where I lived outside of Philly. So every morning I would be like up at 4 to get on the train to get there, on time, so that it would, and then get home at like midnight. This was like went on for like months, and I loved every second of it. But anyway, so yeah, this is the story of how I got on MTV for the very first time. Basically, I just wanted to see if I could do it. I did a lot of things like that, just to, I would take these really wacky ideas and just unbelievable long shots and see where it would go, just to do it. I would get newspapers from another town, and take little teeny ads out with my name and stuff, and I got bookings from it. It was like when I was in Philly, I just took one little ad out saying that Arioch coming soon to New York, and I got a booking from New York just for that. They were like, when are you going to be here, what, blah blah blah, and I said, well, the gig fell through, while you have a date open, and then stuff like that would happen. So that's why I did this, just solely as an experiment. I didn't think it was going to go anywhere. There was no way to make any money off it, really, you know what I mean? I just wanted to see if it was possible and not get in trouble at the same time. Now, like I said, nobody at MTV had any clue what I was up to, all right? Only one person knew what I was up to, and that was my mom, and I'll explain why in a little bit. Basically what happened was, I found out that on March about the 21st or so, 21st or 22nd, I found out that one of the VJ segments we were shooting with Kevin Seal, the VJ, was going to be run by a different guy. His name was Steve, okay? He wasn't like one of the regular directors there. He was like a producer. He was sort of like the Simon Cowell, I guess, of that era. I mean, this guy was good in music, he really knew what he was doing. He could spot talent and all that stuff. So anyway, this guy was going to be in the studio where I was interning on, I think it was about like March 21st or 22nd, okay? So remember, whatever we shot that day would air 3 days later, okay? Now, knowing that this guy was going to be there, I decided to try and see if I could impress him, okay? So what I did was I dressed extra nice that day. I'm sitting in the control room, and my job at the time was to log what was going on. We would like have time codes for the tapes and what the video or whatever was going on that the guy was talking about, that the DJ was talking about. So that's what I did. We didn't use computers yet, okay? Sitting next to me was a fellow intern. His name was Tony, and Tony went on to be really big in the entertainment world. He had some great shows on MTV. I won't say his last name, but even Tony had no idea what I was up to, okay? So what I did was, when we had a little break in the shooting or whatever, I turned to Tony and I said, listen, when they call break, because we would take actual breaks where they would change the tapes, and they were at certain scheduled times, you know what I mean? It was like the director would say, okay, take 5, everybody. And we knew about what time it would be. I turned to Tony and I say, look, I need you to do me a big favor, okay? On the next break, turn to me and say, hey dude, show me that trick again that you showed me yesterday. I didn't show him anything. He had no idea what I was talking about, okay? So I said, just trust me, okay? But say it kind of loud. So he was like, all right, you know, he probably figured I was up to something. At the break, Tony turned to me and he said, dude, show me that trick that you did yesterday. And I went, okay. So I took my nail, and I did the nail up the nose trick where I say, you know, it's kind of like an ancient Japanese nail mystery, karate and all that. And I take a 4-inch solid steel nail and slide it up my nose like this. Alright. And when I did that, everybody in the control room started freaking out. And Steve, who was sitting to my left, went, oh my God, what the hell? He goes, why aren't you on camera right now? And I said, what are you talking about? Steve said, why aren't you doing that on the air? And I said, honestly, I never thought of it. And he said, can we get this kid out on the next segment? Okay? And then he went, wait a minute. We'd have to have a reason for it. We can't just put you out on the air and shoving a nail up your nose. I said, it's kind of a bummer that this isn't airing in 3 days because that's Houdini's birthday. And he went, I'm like, there you go, that's perfect, right? And I remember I was all dressed up and everything ready to go, okay? So during the next segment, they sent me out. It was with Kevin Seal, and I shoved the nail up my nose, and that was that. Everything was really cool. Then what I did was, as soon as I got done, and it was lunchtime, I went and I called my mother, and I said, okay, it's a go. Now, what I did was the night before, I wrote up a press release that said, local magician appears on MTV, all right, with a photograph and everything. And then when I called my mom and told her it was a go, because remember, this was in New York and I lived outside of Philly, she went and hand-delivered it to the local papers. Okay, so they had this story 3 days in advance that I was going to appear on the channel at such and such a time, and it was for Houdini's birthday. In the story, I also put down, if you want to see more of Arioch on MTV, call in the station or write letters. And guess what happened? That's what happened. So after I made it in the paper, then I got into a couple of magazines, like heavy metal magazines, and an MTV magazine. And then that led to me performing for a couple of people in the green room. And then I think the next time it was Skid Row. They asked to have me on. I actually did 7 more appearances, so I think 7 total appearances, all because of that one. I did the morning show where I did a straitjacket escape for Halloween, and then when Motley Crue came in, I shoved a drumstick through Tommy Lee's head and made his head disappear. And I did something with Martha Quinn, but it just sort of snowballed, all because I decided to do that little experiment and see if I could get on the air, and that's exactly what happened. So I guess it just goes to show, if you prepare a little bit, you can actually, and do a little creative thinking, which is kind of cliche, but if you come up with a different angle, you'd be amazed at what happens. The coolest part about this was the entire time and up until now, which Steve actually thought it was his idea, and I thought that was kind of cool. My only regret is that I don't have video of this stuff, because back then they were using videotape, and I don't own the rights to it. MTV does. Somewhere, I'm sure it exists in a vault or something like that. But I do have the magazine articles that talked about my appearances, so that's something really cool. My only regret is that I don't have video of this stuff, because back then they were using videotape, and I don't own the rights to it. MTV does. Somewhere, I'm sure it exists in a vault or something like that. But I do have the magazine articles that talked about my appearances, so that's something really cool.